So, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for joining this webinar in such a large numbers. Today, our objective is to present to you the proposal that the aerospace community is leading for the Supercluster competition. This should last about 30 to 40 minutes, and we could have taken questions afterwards, but this is not going to be possible as it stands now. I'm going to tell you a few introductory remarks, then explain to you the background leading up to today, explain the concept for the Supercluster, explain what we hope to receive from the community, and the next steps in this exercise. Number one, introductory remarks. First of all, let me just say that the material you're going to see is still not definitive. We have to produce a letter of intent for the 21st of July, 12 o'clock. So the material you're going to see could change a little bit until then, after we receive some more comments, including yours. The letter of intent we have to provide does not go into a lot of details. It is really there to explain a concept, to sell a concept to the government, a concept behind which there should be solid support from the community, especially the industrial community, as this is an industry-led initiative. The details of the material presented to you will be provided after the 21st of July, when we know that our letter of intent has been accepted and we're invited to produce a full proposal. There still remain some ambiguities about the program. The colleagues and I said have been extremely useful to try to clarify all these ambiguities, but if there are some remaining, we are not an authority on this program. Hence, these questions will have to be addressed to I said. This is an industry-led proposal. Carrick, Garden, and your regional clusters like Aero Montreal, the Ontario Aerospace Council are only there to facilitate the proposal. We're just using the network and help to prepare the proposal. The material you're about to see has been prepared after consultation with about 10 companies operating across Canada. I think there's still room for improvement in the proposal, but we hope that it reflects quite well the broad interests of our aerospace community. The reason why the schedule is so tight is that we were given only 8 weeks to put the bid in, and as of 3 weeks ago, aerospace was not intending to lead a proposal because there was lots of emphasis on intersectoral clusters, and aerospace being a sector, we thought we could not put a bid in. Now the program has been somewhat adjusted from what we understand. Intersectorality is not a main feature of the proposal anymore, and our colleagues from ICED added a 7th field of interest on transportation and infrastructure, which of course is applicable to aerospace and other perhaps sectors. And the decision was taken that aerospace would lead a bid, and as you're going to see, it is still a truly intersectoral bid because it applies to other communities like ground-based transportation or naval transportation, and it also embeds other sectors like advanced manufacturing, intelligence, artificial intelligence, and digital technology. So we're going to start with the presentation. For now, it is entitled MOST21. MOST21 standing for Mobility 21st, 21 is the century, or can also be embedded to say mobility systems and technologies for the 21st century. It's still preliminary. If we can find something better, we'll change it eventually. The background. This program was announced in the budget of 2016. It was for $800 million total. 6 sectors were identified. And the current budget, 2017-2018, the program is now $950 million with 7 sectors of interest listed below. What you see in bold is the 4 high growth priority sectors that the proposal we are working on encompasses. Hence, we cover 4 out of 7 of these sectors. The objectives, you have to be very clear that this whole initiative is after increasing wealth for Canada. So we're looking after new commercial and global opportunities for growth and competitiveness. It's not about knowledge creation. It's not about research. It's about commercialization. So the projects that will be supported will take us either to commercialization right away inside the projects, or will put you on the critical path to commercialization. You might not be able to achieve commercialization at the end of the program, but you have to have this work done in order to remain competitive in your industry. So you see the moving the needle in terms of jobs, exports, revenue, business creation, and the like. And if you look at the key performance indicators will be rated against, well, they are of the same nature. So that's very important to understand. The focus is on commercialization. People still think about 3 to 5 supercluster that would normally range between $125 and $250 million of a grant, something that we have to match by industry. So we're talking about a program that would be anywhere between something like $250 million and $500 million. Has to be regionally anchored, national in scope. It has to foster intersectoral collaboration. If it can benefit to as large a community as possible to create wealth, the better it is. Now, so to re-emphasize what I just explained, the raison d'être, whole purpose of this initiative is in bold, the larger letters, is extracted right out of the program guide. It's to position Canada for technology leadership, ensuring global competitive advantage in mobility, in our case, for the 21st century. It's about sustaining, growing, and creating Canadian industry, inventing or reinventing it. The focus is commercialization. So I'm going to talk about commercialization projects that would certainly involve more development than research, but that's the focus of this initiative. Move to the next slide. The way we are presented our supercluster is to indicate that really it is a cluster of clusters. Just with aerospace, we have 5 clusters across Canada, Quebec, Ontario, the Maritime Provinces, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta, British Columbia. So again, it is very good position from the aerospace community. We're starting from already strong clusters, regional cluster, that we are going to take to the next level. And you see the line in between the dots there. It's to mean that the cluster will be open to members outside of these regional clusters so that we can reinforce each one of them with all the talent we can get across this nation. Now, when you ask yourself, okay, what's going to be different with this initiative than what we had before? I think you can see that it's going to be really what's the big novelty, so to speak. It's a massive injection in the world of mobility from digital technologies, advanced manufacturing, clean technologies, and things that are coming out from the transportation world. It's going to be by a massive injection of these novel technologies that are really state-of-the-art technologies that are going to take our industry to the next level. And by also the opposite direction, we really believe that by working with the aerospace community and the ground-based community, perhaps other mobility commercialization, we are going to reinforce advanced manufacturing community, the digital technologies, of course, the transportation and infrastructure, and the clean technologies. So it's a two-way street where we're going to be really leaning on what we already do very well in our very innovative community and reinforce it with digital advanced manufacturing clean technologies. We are going to work on 6 value streams. So when we start to say, okay, now what can we really influence here in terms of commercialization. We have identified 6 of these value streams. The first one being operations innovation. That is, if you are operating, in our case, an airborne or a spaceborne craft to transport passenger, cargo, or to provide services like, as an example, geoanalysis, either for commercial purposes or military purposes, you're operating a fleet of vehicle, then you can, that's what is concerned by this operations innovation. The second one is product innovation. That is developing novel crafts, in our case, aircraft, spacecraft, but also systems and components that are important in this mobility field. The next one is service innovation. Our industry is very strong in terms of training pilots as an example, or training technicians to do some maintenance, repair, overall airport and airline services. There are all kinds of new services that can be helped by digital technologies as an example that we can improve. The fourth stream is the manufacturing process itself, advanced fabrication, of course, including 3D printing, the way to make automatization of all these processes, that we can really put things together faster, cheaper, when we, and this includes the whole supply chain. And talking about the supply chain, there are new ways of handling the supply chain. There are new ways of developing the talent pool that we need and manage this talent, novel business models that are going to be looked into with this proposal. And finally, the environmental dimension that is very key in this entire program, things like quietness, environmental friendly, recyclable at the end of the process. And of course, this environmental dimension cuts across all the other value streams, but there is one on its own, because it is very important to put emphasis on the environmental dimension. So these are the value streams. So wherever you recognize your company or your university in there, this is where you would be interested to participate. Now, what is requested from the program guide? We have to explain how we're going to create value for Canadians, how we are going to support the value streams that we just explained. And they are recommending 5 dimensions that have to be covered. The first one, the most important one, is technology leadership. So we have to show how the work we're going to do is going to position Canadian industry on the global market. Second one, partnership for scale. How are we going to scale up the partnership to include anybody that can add value to our cluster and also get it to international level. Access to innovation is, we're going to generate IP there. We're going to generate products. We're going to generate all kinds of perhaps demonstrator. How can we make this intellectual property in any way, shape, or form as accessible as possible to a wide range of companies that can exploit it as possible, so we can have the biggest bang for our investment. The talent pool, how are we going to make sure that we have the right people to get our industry sustained? And the global advantage, how are we going to show that this is going to take us on the world scene? And when you do that, when you see around that circle here, is how we are going to achieve everything people are looking after: new companies, new high-skilled job, increase productivity, increase R&D expenditures from the companies, all key performance indicators that we will have to show in our work. Now, the first one out of the 5 activities we have to address, the first one is technology leadership. So how are we going to address that? So far, we think we would be proceeding by platforms. What we mean by platform is not like a physical platform, like a ship, an helicopter, or something like that. A platform is more like a program around which we would probably have like a flagship project, fairly large, fairly significant in nature, that would, again, as much as possible, take you right up to commercialization or close to it, and around which there would be other smaller projects within the same platform or the same themes, so to speak, that would also, again, position companies for commercialization. At this time, we have identified 5 or 6 of them. There can be some more. If I go around what we have right now, autonomous and on-demand vehicle, obviously this everything that has to do with autonomous vehicle like drones, but for on-demand mobility, read things like urban, air service in an urban environment, new ways for vertical lift, vertical takeoff ships would be embedded in that platform. Virtual mobility testing would be anything from design to certification that you could perform in a virtual environment to speed up the process, find ways of optimizing the whole process from design to certification in the computer so that you have to cut down on the actual physical testing, so to speak, of craft or other devices. The near real-time data valorization, this is quite broad. There is an emphasis on near real-time here, that you would be able to do geo-analysis as an example. That would be one possibility. Monitoring engines in flight. So anything that would really have a sort of a near real-time flavor to it. The 3D printed aircraft would be to push 3D technology to its limit for manufacturing. That is, one, the technologies themselves of 3D fabrication, and really understanding how you can fundamentally alter your design to take advantage of these new capabilities of 3D printing that really opens up so many new possibilities. Advanced manufacturing, intelligent automation speaks for itself. And there is what we call, for the time being, an eco-technology demonstrator, that would revolve around silent, clean, and recyclable technologies. So these are the platforms that were defined so far. And again, we are interested in your comments, and there could be some more added as we go along. For each of these platforms, we will, at the time of the full proposal, explain its value, the partners in this proposal, and the sub-programs it would carry on, it would contain. And of course, still the platforms, although we would have a head start on cost and potential partners, it would remain certainly open for people to join if they have something important to contribute. Now, finally, on technology leadership, so what you have in mind, what are we actually going to do? So there will be some collaborative research and development. Put a small R, a big D. It's probably the right time to say that, the money that you could have available to get involved in that program would mostly come out your D budget, development budget, as opposed perhaps to your R budget, although in some cases, for some companies, it is the same budget. So think broadly. When you talk about commercialization, now you can start to dip into your developmental budget. There will be some demonstration. There will be the development of new production methods and the actual commercialization projects. On the right-hand side, these are examples of the programs. It is not comprehensive, it's not definitive, but all the work we're going to do with the technology platforms we just described will be, of course, will be there. We're thinking having an industrial challenge program where we will actually ask, what's your problem in industry? How can we address it quickly and remove the roadblocks to commercialization? Technology showcasing is very important. It's nice to develop technology, but we have to tell the world that we have it, and so that it can go successfully on the market. So that's for the first element out of the 5 activities, technology leadership. If we move now for partnership for scales, on the left-hand side of the screen, it is exactly taken out of the program guide. So how do you link your startups with strategic partners so that they can really provide some good inputs, good material to all the chain from tier 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and right up to OEMs, offering some business mentoring, coaching, perhaps having some help SMEs to take off the ground, and making sure that we have partnerings between various kinds of organizations to really support ourselves. On the right-hand side, again, some examples, work that could help a couple of SMEs to really get together, to grow by association as opposed to grow organically, and prove themselves to some sort of technology demonstration program maybe. There is a program here in Quebec that could be, there are discussions already, the MAC program that help qualify suppliers. It's a very good way of helping small companies to qualify to be embedded in supply chains, and that so that they can develop their business and grow and create jobs. There are SME acceleration program that is already existing here, try to provide some coaching, so to speak, with small companies to help them understand the power of innovation, how innovation works, and help them get into some specific programs. Startups, we're discussing with risk capital firms to maybe support them, and to connect with organizations like the BDC to connect our SMEs or large companies to the next step in terms of commercialization funds. Third item, access to innovation. As I said a bit earlier, how are we going to make sure that the IP developed or the talent that exists or the infrastructure that exists is available to people, to the organizations that want to take advantage of them. So what we would propose on the right-hand side as example, online system to access equipment, infrastructure, talent, specialties, so that it could quite easily reserve infrastructure as an example or on a piece of equipment there and really facilitate the use of that infrastructure. We would like to work on a national infrastructure plan that would help us identify what we're missing in this country and try to get some programs to get it. IP acquisition, there are some companies that have IP that they are not exploiting at the moment. They would dearly love to transfer this IP to companies for them to exploit them. And some of these companies are quite willing even to accompany SMEs, as an example, to help them master the IP they will be transferring and get them to the market successfully. We don't have to invent everything that we want to put on the market. If we can just get it from somewhere else, it's just as good. The diverse and skilled talent pool, well, it's the thing that is already ongoing in all our regions in Canada, making sure that we have the right people to sustain our industry. We're thinking right now, there's a large demand for people to come to Canada as these days, as opposed to going elsewhere in North America. So we would certainly make an effort to attract this high-power personnel to Canada. There's a question of people leaving the market, so a program perhaps to retain experienced personnel. Gender inclusion is an issue that we are requested to address. And we even have some ideas to have some projects up north that would certainly help develop these northern communities. So these ideas, again, are examples of kind of thing we want to do. And finally, the global advantage. How do we go international? You can see on the left-hand side the kind of thing they ask us to address. On the right-hand side, the kind of things we have in mind. An annual international forum, risk capital, I've already talked about that. Benchmarking activities, making sure we understand the game in which we are. Strategic studies, and of course involving ourselves in regulations, more specific environment, because it's really dear to Canada. And UAVs, again, is something very important, dear to Canada. And we add at that time some advantage that maybe is eroding a bit, but maybe we can creating the right environment for people to come to Canada when they talked about drones. So that's what we have in mind. So to summarize myself up to this point, the Supercluster is going to develop technologies for the market, get right up to the market or close to it, but also other activities that are going to help companies to actually market and sell and put their products on the market. Now the next slide is only there to show that we should not duplicate anything that already exists. We should ensure maximum leverage with other programs, whether they are national, provincial, or international. There are going to be other clusters. We should work with the other superclusters. There are going to be execution partners like MyTax, IRAP that are already active that we should be working with. So we don't want to work in isolation. We want to work with within the entire ecosystem. So if we do all this, we are convinced that we are going to take our regional cluster that are already very good, mind you, to the next level and build that hotbed of strong industrial partners that are interacting together, thinking together, working together. Now, they have in mind things that what's happening around Waterloo, a good example, or Silicon Valley, to create a dynamics between the partners and really go very far. Now, what do we need from the community? We need from you people letters of, well, first of all, comments on the presentation. Of course, it's a PowerPoint. It's not detailed. If you would like to comment on it, please write to me. The email address is there, denisfaubert@carrick.aero. Information at Cathy Wood. It should Cathy.wood, not -wood, at carrick.aero. We will set up a temporary website called MS21.ca. It is active as we speak. On it, there will be samples, letters of support shortly. Now, what we need from you is the following. We need to make a strong case that industry is solidly and widely backing up our proposal. So what we really like to get from companies, industries, universities, organizations, research centers, we would like to get letters of support. Of course, containing the usual stuff that, how nice this initiative is, but those letters of support that will come with resources associated with them, whether they are cash and or in kind, will carry way more weight. Now, please notice that we are only at the letter of intent stage. The letter of intent that you're going to be providing to us are not committal. So what we would be suggesting to you is that, of course, the interest for your companies, especially, to join this initiative is when it aligns with your strategic plan or your operational plan of the next 5 years. So, if you are interested to develop such and such product, and of course, this being the raison d'être of private companies, there will certainly be some money set aside for developing new products. So if you know that amount of money that is set aside, you could say in your letter of intent, providing that we work on such and such projects, we would be willing, if the terms and conditions are suitable, to invest an amount of the order of so much in your letter of intent. So this is non-committal. It gives us a very good understanding of the projects of interest by our community and the level of commitment people are making to the supercluster. And remember that when you're part of the supercluster, you will most likely be in a position to double the money that you have set aside for developing these products. So please, we would certainly welcome all the support we need. We're really looking forward to receiving tens of letters of support. We would like many of them to come with some sort of intent to commit, if the conditions are right, money in the second phase when we write the full proposal. Please address your letters of intent to the Minister of Innovation, Science and Economic Development. The address is on the page there. And email your letters, your signed letters, to myself and info cathywood@carrick.io. So that would complete the material we had prepared. And remember that by participating in the supercluster, not only are you going to leverage the money of the supercluster, but also leverage the money of the other companies or institutions that are in the same projects as you are. So your leveraging factor is will be significantly more than 2 with your contribution. So please take that into account. And please produce your letters of intent as soon as possible. We would like to collect all of them for approximately the 14th of July, 1 week prior to the deadline for submitting the letter of intent, so we can finalize the letter of intent and understanding how much money we are requested. We cannot request a cent more from the federal government than the money, including in kind, that we are putting in. And by the way, the salaries of your staff that is going to be involved in the project qualifies as cash contribution. In-kinds are all goods and services that will have to be paid for inside the projects, but that you can provide free of charge. This too is leveraging that we can get by the federal government. So thank you very much, everybody. Again, please, if you are in agreement with the concept we just presented, if you can see an interest of your company, your research centers, your organization, your universities, colleges, please provide your letters of support